Hi there, folks. This is John Rodgers, ToolAnswerMan.com. I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about some of the things that I used to make in between building parts for jet transport planes and naval ships, stagecoaches. I really enjoyed that because it was a little different from the highly precise flying machines and the deadly naval vessels. I really enjoyed making stagecoaches. That was a little more in line with my love of the Old West and all of that mystique of the good old days, crossing the plains on a Concord coach, fighting engines with John Wayne. It was something that I had loved ever since my little boy had first climbed aboard a stagecoach at Knott's Berry Farm in California. Well, I got a job building wheels for stagecoaches. I made 3 sets of wheels. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot about what that craft involves. So in one of my videos, I'm going to be talking with you about all the ins and outs of that, explaining the tools, the machines that were innovated for making gun stocks, of all things, but which also ended up making axe handles and spokes. So the arsenals produced a lot of our great inventions, and that's just another one of the wonderful things that came from the arsenals. The Blanchard lathe. They make spokes also, as well as gun stocks. Well, a spoke is a wonderful piece of wood made of sapwood hickory, extremely tenacious wood. Well, that is what is needed for a spoke on a wagon wheel or a stagecoach wheel, something very, very springy and tenacious, and that's what hickory gives you. The hub is elm wood. It's a wood that doesn't tend to split. It has a grain that is extremely intertwined and stable. But it has to be cooled and actually dried for about 10 years. Well, we didn't have any wood that was that old, so I made up some sections of wood out of oak, and I sawn them into wedges. And then these wedges were all pushed together in a form with screws to push them all together and glue them together into a big block. Well, that worked out pretty well. But it wasn't the same that the originals had. But anyway, I'll go into that in more detail. The wood hubs were actually quite delicate. There was actually very little wood left over after you had cut all of the openings for the spokes to go in there. And simply running that hub against a tree could break it right in half. So even the most robust looking things are only so strong. And it was true with wood hub stagecoach wheels. But luckily they don't show too many trees in westerns because it blocks the camera angle and doesn't break the spokes and the hubs. But anyway, you need to know something really interesting about wagon wheels and buggy wheels, stagecoach wheels, all of them. It isn't just the strength of the spokes that holds them together, because a wood wheel is actually a truss. It's a very flat truss and a circular one. So the wheel is not flat. It's actually dished. It has a little conical shape to it. That's so that when the thrust from the vehicle pushes against the hub, it won't just push all the way past the center. It will be stopped because the spokes are at an angle like this. And the pressure against the spokes pushes the pressure, which is a compressive strength, against the rim. And so it acts like, well, like a roof truss on your house in a circle. So it supports that weight sideways, horizontally. And the stress against that rim is supported by the metal tire. It's a piece of iron or steel which is bent around into a big circle, then it's welded together into a ring. It's made so that the circumference of that tire is a little bit smaller than the wood rim. And then it is heated up and it's dropped onto the wheel. As quickly as you can, once it's in position, you pour water on it. It cools down and shrinks, and you have what's known as an interference fit. That means one part is actually bigger than the part which is on it or around it. So there's a tremendously powerful grip. In fact, the tire, when tight enough, will actually cause the wheel to bounce. Bong, bong. It's amazing. And that is what gives it the tremendous strength. The sad thing about the pioneers was many of them had wagons that had wheels that were built in places like Massachusetts or Kentucky or Missouri. And when they got to Utah, there was a little less moisture in the wood. It tended to shrink. And guess what happened to some of those wheels? They came apart. That's why the Wild West was kind of a problem at times. This is just some of the things we'll be looking into in our series of videos on crafts and how to make things. Be sure to look for all of our titles. I think you'll enjoy them and you'll learn something. Remember, ToolAnswerMan.com. Thank you very much, folks.
Okay, I'm going to pause.
This little story about wheelwrighting is one of the things we're going to be talking about. One of our videos will be in great depth on this, and you might be interested in seeing it because you might like to build some wheels. And if the gasoline runs out, you might be the only one in town with a horse-drawn vehicle. So think about it. Anyway, it might be interesting. And there are a lot of people building wheels these days. You might be surprised. So be looking for all of our topics and let us know what you would like to get into and what you'd like to have us talk about. This is John Rodgers, ToolAnswerMan.com.